Let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to look at one of the weirdest pricing mysteries sitting right there on our grocery store shelves. I mean, we buy drinks all the time, right? But hidden in plain sight is this absolute masterclass in behavioral economics. So today, we're decoding the beverage pricing paradox.
Think about it. Why do we happily pay way more money for something that literally gives us less liquid? As consumers, we love to think we're totally rational. We hunt for deals, we crunch the numbers, we try to get the most bang for our buck. But when it comes to certain everyday products, we throw all that logical math right out the window.
Just look at this contrast. You've got a 300 milliliter can of a popular soda, let's say Coca-Cola, and it costs roughly 40 rupees. But right next to it, or maybe just a few aisles down, a 750 milliliter bottle of the exact same soda also costs around 40 rupees. Actually, sometimes if you look on grocery apps, the bottle is even cheaper. And honestly, the bottle is incredibly practical. You open it, pour a glass, put the cap back on, toss it in the fridge, share it later. But a can? Once you crack that tab open, you are committed. You've got to finish it right then and there.
So despite being way less practical, the math here is just staggering. The bottle gives you 2.5 times more beverage for the exact same price. Just let that sink in for a second. The can is essentially double the price per milliliter. So if the bottle is so much better in terms of utility and sheer volume, why on earth are we constantly buying the cans?
Well, whenever I bring up this paradox, people immediately jump to what I like to call the obvious excuses. Things like aluminum costs more to produce than plastic, or metal transfers heat faster so a can gets icy cold in the fridge way quicker. And sure, yes, a can is compact and lightweight. But here's the massive flaw in that logic. All those benefits, they just explain why cans exist in the first place. They do absolutely nothing to explain why you and I are totally willing to stomach a massive 2.5 times price gap per milliliter. If this was just about the cost of aluminum or cooling speeds, that price gap would be tiny, but the difference is huge. So there is definitely something else going on here.
Which brings us to Section 1, the packaging illusion, and how the pack completely changes the occasion.
Okay, so the liquid inside the can and the bottle, chemically identical. It is the exact same formula. But in the real world, we view them completely differently. Take the bottle mindset. When you grab a bottle at the local Kirana store or supermarket, you're in stocking up mode. You're taking it home, pouring it into glasses, having it with family dinner, saving the rest for later. The bottle is all about quantity, sharing, and real value for money. But then look at the can mindset. Usually you're at a party, or you're just grabbing something quick on the go. You crack it, drink it, toss it. You don't buy a can to put on your fridge shelf at home for later. It is designed for one person, for one specific moment, right now.
You see this perfectly in the energy drink market. You've got Red Bull, which is a premium product almost exclusively sold in small cans. Then you have Sting, a super affordable, mass-market drink sold in small PET bottles or cans. Now, they are at totally different price points, but notice what they actually have in common. Neither of these brands is out there selling a massive 2-liter family bottle. Why? Because the occasion absolutely demands a single-serve mindset. Nobody is sitting around the family dinner table pouring out big glasses of energy drinks. People are chugging them before a workout or on a long drive or pulling an all-nighter. The packaging is dictated 100% by the occasion.
And if we shift from sodas to packaged juice, it just brilliantly drives the point home. A standard 1-liter carton of juice usually costs about 75 rupees online, but a tiny 180 milliliter pack of that exact same juice costs roughly 20 rupees. If you crunch the numbers, that small pack is 1.5 times more expensive per milliliter. Yet, parents and commuters buy them all the time. Why? Because in that specific moment, you aren't just paying for the juice, you're paying for convenience. It's sealed, it's kid-friendly, it fits perfectly in a backpack. The size of the pack totally changes what you feel you're paying for, and your definition of value just magically shifts right along with it.
Let's look at Section 2, Location and Alternatives, and how changing the comparison changes everything.
Picture this. You're at an airport. You're super thirsty and your flight boards in like 40 minutes. You walk up to a vending machine and you see a can of soda for 100 rupees. Now, if you took that exact same 100 rupee can and put it right next to a 40 rupee 750 milliliter bottle in your local grocery store, you would feel completely ripped off. But that grocery store bottle isn't there, is it? Your alternatives in this specific airport terminal are a 250 rupee coffee, a 300 rupee juice, or basically just boarding your flight thirsty. Suddenly, when you compare it to the options you actually have, that 100 rupee can genuinely feels like a total bargain.
We see this exact same thing happen at the cinema.
A 400 rupee bucket of popcorn completely anchors your perception of price. It literally makes a 200 rupee can of soda feel like a totally normal, acceptable part of the movie experience. You haven't lost your mind overnight. The exact same person who is meticulously comparing prices at the supermarket on Sunday is perfectly happy buying an overpriced can at the airport or the movies on Monday. Your intellect didn't change. The situation, your mindset, and the immediate alternatives around you completely shifted.
All right, moving to Section 3, the magic of pricing fences, which is the formal economic principle behind all of this.
So the mastermind concept driving everything we've been talking about is known as price discrimination. Companies absolutely love to charge different prices to different people based on the situation. I mean, if you're desperate for a cold drink at the airport, they want to charge you a premium. But if you're just stocking up your pantry for the week, they want to give you bulk value. But they have a major problem. They can't exactly just openly tell you, hey, we're overcharging you right now because you're stuck at gate 42. That would make us feel totally cheated, right?
So to solve that problem, companies use what economists call pricing fences. They use the packaging itself, the location, and the occasion as invisible barriers or fences to justify that markup in your mind. Because the drink comes in a sleeker, cooler-looking package, and because you're drinking it in a different location for a different reason, that higher price suddenly becomes mentally acceptable to swallow. You don't feel ripped off because the product genuinely feels different in this new context.
Water is the absolute perfect example of this. Functionally, it's the exact same hydrating liquid everywhere you go. But a standard 1-liter plastic bottle at a local store costs next to nothing. Take a small, branded bottle at a casual restaurant, costs a bit more. A sleek glass bottle in a premium hotel room, the price jumps up again. And a fancy imported bottle at a fine dining restaurant, that commands an absolute premium. As consumers, we just accept these wild price differences for plain water because we don't actually experience them as the exact same product. We experience them as completely different situations.
And that takes us to Section 4, Designing a Product Portfolio, which reveals this highly deliberate strategy. This is exactly how a massive beverage brand purposefully engineers its lineup. They aren't just selling one drink. They're selling a very carefully curated portfolio. That 200 milliliter glass bottle, specifically designed for restaurants to elevate the dine-in experience. The 300 milliliter can, tailor-made for vending machines in airports when you're on the go. The 750 milliliter plastic bottle, that's for the grocery store, so you can take it home. And that giant 2-liter bottle, built for supermarkets, aimed at family gatherings. Every single format is mathematically engineered for its own specific world, its own specific occasion, and importantly, its own unique price point.
But here is the absolute genius part of all this. These packages are meticulously distributed so they practically never sit next to each other on the same shelf. The entire system relies on you never making a direct comparison. You are never, ever going to walk into a cinema hall and see a massive 2.25-liter family bottle sitting next to the popcorn counter. And on the flip side, you'll never find a 750-milliliter grocery store bottle sitting inside an airport vending machine. By keeping all these formats isolated in their own separate worlds, the brand guarantees that you are only ever comparing their product against the other alternatives in that specific location.
So it really all boils down to this massive takeaway. A company doesn't always have to change the product to charge you more. They just have to change the situation. By simply altering where, when, and how the exact same liquid reaches your hands, they completely rewrite the rules of supply, demand, and perceived value right inside your brain.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. The next time you find yourself reaching into a convenience store cooler or tapping your card at a vending machine or even just loading up your grocery cart, pause for a second. Ask yourself, are you truly paying for the beverage inside the container? Or have you just been perfectly engineered to pay for the moment? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the beverage pricing paradox, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.